Hey everybody, welcome back to Lumentek Electrical's YouTube channel. Again, we're here with Ryan. He's the owner-operator of Lumentek Electrical. And today we're going to be talking about electrical service. So not talking about service changes or anything like that, but if you have a problem, tricky wiring, things not working, functioning well, we're going to go get into that today with Ryan. Okay, Ryan, so number one, how did you start off with your electrical business?
Probably service work was the starting point. That was most our calls were until pretty recently. Now we started getting into more new construction and tenant improvements, stuff like that. But for the most part, the first couple of years for sure was almost all service work.
All right, so troubleshooting and repairs.
Yeah.
Right. So what is the process of going about doing that? So somebody gives you a call and you're in their house and they have a problem. Like, what is your process for finding the trouble?
Usually it's the customer has the most information about it. So like when it started acting up, what was happening when it stopped working. So a lot of the, like one of the easy examples, when people backstab their plugs, little connections in the back of the plugs get loose, and then a lot of the plugs will stop working in that circuit. So you usually have to find out what they were running when it happened. When they noticed it, was it, even though the problem's in the bedroom, was it a living room plug? They went to plug something in, that didn't work first, and then kind of work backwards from there. It's especially hard in residential because circuits are always, especially older houses, circuits are tied into all sorts of different places, and there's not necessarily any rhyme or reason to. It could have been something as simple as when they were building the house, someone had a bunch of material there, so they went, instead of the logical, like go from one plug to the next, they went to the next room over and got power from there. Gotcha. Like, it's always weird stuff like that. It makes no sense. But then when you're wiring a house, you're like, oh, okay, I kind of see why that guy would have done that in that other house. So that's the biggest help for us, is to just ask the customer what they noticed when it stopped. Like, they noticed sparks, or they just noticed all of a sudden it didn't work, and then kind of work backwards from there.
All right. So what are some of the most common electrical issues that you come against in a residential place?
Trip breakers are a big one. And then, it's always, people don't realize when a breaker trips, you have to turn it off to reset it and then back on. So they just turn it back on and they go, oh, I reset the breaker, it's not working.
Yeah. And
then they never want to tell us that they reset the breaker for some reason. So we're looking around like, this circuit has no power anywhere. And then we go back to the panel. You can always tell, because as soon as you touch the breaker and it's been reset wrong, it just flips off. And like, oh, there we go. So that's a common one. Backstab plugs, again, are always a frustrating one, because the problem's not usually at the plug you notice the problem in, it's somewhere else down the line. And when circuits aren't just in one area, it's always a pain trying to figure out where that connection got broken.
Yeah, and sometimes it can take a long time to figure that out. Yeah. Because you don't know where it jumps to, where it goes to next.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. It could be in a light for all we know.
Right.
We had one last week where the whole wire just disappeared because it was under a hot tub, and the aluminum wire was getting hot tub water with all the chemicals, like the chlorine and everything on it, just evaporated the whole wire.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That would take a while to find.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a couple hours.
A couple hours to find out, oh, there's the problem there. It's sitting underneath the hot tub.
Yeah. Hot tub's leaking right into the junction box.
Oh my gosh.
Corroded everything.
Terrible. Okay. So let's talk about red flags. So what are some red flags for a homeowner regarding, let's say, a quote from an electrical contractor, or just, maybe they're not working with a fully licensed electrician?
I would look at Google reviews personally. Like if you have someone that's got like 4 reviews, then maybe they're just new. Other times they might not have the best reputation. That's the biggest thing, is if they don't seem confident in their repair. It's hard to tell if you don't know. It's hard, like we can see it right away walking in and looking at it, like, okay, that was a repair that probably wasn't done by an electrician.
Right. Well, and one thing could be maybe they're just getting a handyman to do it.
I was going to say, if the same guy that did your flooring, he said he can fix it, like it's probably not the best guy to go with.
Probably not. Yeah. Because electrical is kind of a tricky thing. If you don't have experience troubleshooting and working on it, it can be pretty tough.
Yeah. The guess and check method's not the best way to go.
Could be dangerous.
Yeah.
All right. So now in Alberta with our cold winters and older homes, what are some extra challenges or failures that you see that affect the electrical systems?
We just did one today, actually. That was a underground service coming to the house. So they have a plastic pipe coming up into the meter base. And with the ground settling over like freeze and thaws and all that, it broke the pipe coming out of the meter base. So that one, we had to call Fortis, get them to disconnect the power. We had to change that pipe because it cracked the pipe. And we ended up putting an expansion joint in so that you can have freeze and thaws and the pipe will just slip inside. There's a fitting that's designed to have movement in there.
Okay.
So we put one of those in, strapped it all back up, reinstalled everything. And now that won't be an issue anymore because they can unless they're getting like huge freeze and thaws that are more than that expansion joint can handle. Then they got other problems, but that's one thing. Stuff freezing in conduits too, because what will happen is when the water expands in a conduit, when it freezes, there's nowhere for it to go out, so it just gets longer. So it freezes around the wires, pulls longer, and it'll snap the wires inside the pipe, which is
Interesting.
not fun to fix.
No, that sounds awful.
People notice it when it's frozen, and then trying to get it unfrozen and out is very difficult.
Is there any preventative maintenance that you encourage clients to do or get you to do that avoids costly repairs down the road?
Not necessarily. Like the biggest thing is just to even just walk around your house every couple of weeks and just make sure you don't have broken covers on stuff. Make sure exterior lights aren't broken because water's kind of the enemy to electrical. So as soon as that gets in there, you're going to have issues. Even if you notice it and fix it, like the water's gotten in there, there's going to be something now that's corrosion started. It's just going to get worse. Just calling someone sooner rather than later. Like once you notice a problem starting, then when something actually stops working.
Right.
We had a house, speaking of like connections in weird places, they had no plugs in the living room that worked. So we checked every connection, opened everything up, couldn't figure it out. It turns out it was an outside light on the back of the living room that they had spliced the living room circuit through. And that light had been broken and missing. And we just didn't notice it because the front door was on the opposite side of the house. So we spent hours looking for it. And then I just was looking for the homeowner to tell them, like ask them if they had any more information that could help us. And I saw a light fixture with a bunch of wires in it, or a lighting box, sorry, with no fixture. I was like, So we go up there and all the wires are so corroded. We just cleaned them all up and reconnected it and everything in the living room worked.
Oh my goodness. How old was this house?
30 years old.
So not that old, but
not old enough that it would have been.
Still, yeah.
When you think about it.
Shocking that they ran the circuit through the outside light.
Yeah, I was like, that's a lot of wires for an outside lighting box.
Right.
It's super weird. And then I was kind of like, hang on a second.
Yeah, maybe that's the key.
Yeah.
Another problem is if it's hidden up in an attic, right? And it's hidden, buried under insulation. Got to trace and try and find that out.
Yeah, which is fun. Technically code, but it's like, it's nice when people leave notes on the panel cover. Like we've started doing that on the inside of the panel cover because that's the first thing you do when you're troubleshooting that is you pull the cover off. And we just write in Sharpie, like junction box above kitchen pot lights or something. So at least you know it's there so you can go find it.
You need to look for it.
Gives you a clue to go, like, okay, maybe we check here.
All right. Do you have any troubleshooting stories that started out maybe simple and kind of took a wrong turn and became more complex?
Every day. A lot of the time it's stuff like we talked about before where it's a little problem and they'll have a handyman or someone else, even another trade doing work in their house and they'll bring it up like, oh, do you know anyone that can fix this? And like, oh, I'll take a look. And then they'll half fix it, which makes it work just well enough that it gets worse. And then it creates a bunch of other issues. We had one, it was a stab lock panel and the wires shorted out inside the furnace somehow. I'm not sure. I wasn't actually the one that was on that service call, but the way it was described to me is something arced out in there, but because it's stab lock, it didn't trip. So it just kept getting hotter and hotter, melted the wire all the way back inside the sleeve they used. Like they used a BX sleeve, like an armored sleeve to stop the wire from getting damaged, melted the wires in there. But while it was doing that, it dropped voltage on the whole system and then created like a bunch of other issues, electronics breaking and stuff like that. And so we figured out, okay, the furnace circuit needs to be replaced. We did that and we told them like, you really should look at changing your panel out because it's just going to be like an issue you're going to keep having. And luckily, like they had already kind of known about stab lock panels and they're like, yeah, get it out of there. So
yikes.
we pulled that one out and But the hardest part is when someone hasn't had an issue with their stab lock panel yet, to be like, this is going to be an issue. You're going to regret keeping this. And then like because they haven't seen that problem with it yet. Like it's hard when you can read about something 100 times, but until you've seen a personal experience with it, it doesn't really click.
Yeah. For me, it's amazing that there's still any of those left, because I know back when I was an electrician, those are regular occurrence. We would change all those panels all the time, and people have been changing them every year since that time, and they're still changing them.
Yeah.
And it's incredible how many are out there.
It's crazy they can still get home insurance, because like we joke that like if you don't have the right size breaker, you can always use a smaller one because it won't trip. Like you can't yeah, like if you see a trip stab lock breaker, like that there was a ton of current going through there for a long time before it tripped.
Yeah. It's just they're not made for today's standards, and they're not the same. They're not made the same.
No, like it's
and we need to change those out for safety reasons. Yeah. Okay. Now, how does working for residential clients differ from working with commercial clients?
Residential's different because the circuitry is a lot more simple for starters. It's single phase. There's probably 4 different kinds of circuits in a house. You got plugs, lights, oven, like kitchen appliances, and then like bedroom plugs really is the only kind of variation. There's a lot more of it's hidden because it's all in the walls. You can't see the work. It's a lot harder to trace circuits out. Whereas commercial, it's the circuitry is a lot more complex, but it's easier to find something because there's probably, like in a residential panel, there's 3 different sizes of wire in the panel. In commercial, there's probably 10. So then there's usually one of each circuit. So you can go, okay, like that's the 12 gauge wire. I'll follow that one. I can see it on the wall. I can follow it where it goes. And then as for repairs, a lot of the time, if you're running a new circuit somewhere, commercial buildings have drop ceilings, or they already have it. They have conduits going everywhere, so you can pull more wires in the conduit. You're not cutting walls open. You're not trying to fish stuff through spaces like that. So adding stuff in a commercial building is a lot easier, but the solution's usually harder to come up with because there's so much more involved. There's control wiring. There's different sizes of circuits, different applications.
Different voltages too?
Yeah, different voltages. Usually everything's on its own circuit in commercial. Whereas residential, there's a lot of stuff shared on circuits.
Right. All right. Looking ahead to the future of the electrical business, how do you see things changing for electrical service and repair going forward?
I see the need for it growing just because people are more and more dependent on electricity. It's definitely not going away. As far as service, it's hard to say. Like it's the older houses are having issues, but that's kind of common. That's always been the case. There's a lot, like stuff's more efficient. So it's on one side, like we're having to run less circuits, but on the other side of that, like there's a lot more electrical stuff. So we need plugs and places we didn't use to put plugs. Like for instance, every bedroom now we put a TV plug in it. There's more of it, but it's usually like less load.
Right.
It's just more.
So more things to look at. Now, what about keeping up to date with any like electrical code or new trends that are happening with house wiring and things like that?
As far as code goes, they changed electrical code constantly. They're always adding new stuff in there. One of the newer changes now is they're making tons of circuits arc fault protected, whereas before it was just bedroom plugs, living room plugs, stuff like that. Now it's basically every circuit that's not a GFI circuit needs to be arc fault protected. I don't agree with it, but it's the rules we got to follow.
I know there's lots of electricians that don't agree with it.
Adds thousands of dollars to a house wire.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. Ryan, thank you for helping us out and teaching us a little bit more about electrical service, both for residential and commercial. And if you're in need of some electrical service work, if you got some plugs and switches that ain't just working right or lights that are flickering, give Ryan a call. Go to lumentek.ca and hit the number and someone will get in touch with you and you will be visited by Ryan or one of his team and they'll come out and do a great job for you. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next video.